It's not exotic. It's not expensive. It's not rare. It's already in your kitchen and almost nobody has enough. And somewhere on this list is the food most people overlook until day 3 when stress, boredom, and bad decisions start eating through a family faster than hunger does. This matters now because grocery prices are still elevated. With the reporting, the Food at Home Index up 1.9% over the 12 months ending March 2026, and when the power goes out, your refrigerator only buys you about 4 hours unopened before it stops being a plan. Ready.gov also warns that perishable food above 40 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours or more ** should be discarded. So this is not about building a fantasy bunker pantry. It's about owning 12 specific no-cook foods, each chosen for a concrete reason: calories, protein, shelf stability, morale, and speed. And the closer we get to number 1, the harder this gets to ignore. Number 12. Dry cereal or granola. The first thing people underestimate in a crisis is how valuable open and eat really becomes. Dry cereal looks ordinary until you have no stove, limited water, tired kids, and exactly 0 patience for complicated food. Ready.gov specifically includes dry cereal or granola ** on its emergency food list because it gives you immediate carbs, familiar texture, and something people will actually eat under stress. That's why it makes the list, not because it's perfect, but because it creates instant, low-friction calories when friction is the whole problem. Buy family-sized boxes your household already likes, and packs them into zipper bags so one open box doesn't go stale all at once, * hold. That thought the next one solves the problem cereal can't. Number 11. Dried fruit. Small handful can quietly do more emotional work than people expect. When meals get repetitive, sweetness stops being a luxury and starts becoming a stabilizer. Ready.gov recommended fruit for emergency food because it's compact, shelf-stable, and needs no prep, no heat, and no refrigeration. The hidden reason it earns this spot is that it gives you portability and variety without burning fuel or water. Raisins, apricots, dates, these are easy to portion, easy to stash, and easy to pair with cereal, nuts, or peanut butter later. Store them in sealed bags inside a cool, dry pantry bin so you can rotate by date instead of forgetting them in the back corner, *. The next one will challenge an assumption you've probably had for years. Number 10. Instant non-fat dry milk. Most people hear dry milk and think compromise. In a no-heat scenario, it's closer to insurance. A USDA food fact sheet notes that non-fat dry milk contains the same amount of protein, calcium, and vitamins as whole milk, but with no fat and fewer calories, and it can be mixed with cold water. That means it quietly upgrades foods. Already on this list, cereal becomes a meal. Oats become possible if you cold soak, and kids get something more familiar than plain water. That's why it earns a place here, not as a drink first, but as a multiplier. Keep one unopened box or pouch, and once you open it, move it into an airtight container with the mixing ratio written right on the lid. Picture week 3 of living entirely on what's in your pantry right now. Jerky looks like snack food right up until you realize it's one of the simplest, shelf-stable proteins you can carry with one hand. Among shelf-stable, non-perishable foods that can be stored at room temperature when properly packaged. The reason it lands here is simple. Protein that travels well matters when routines break. You may not want to live on jerky, but during a power outage, evacuation, or a long workday with scarce options, it becomes a compact bridge food that buys you time. Choose lower sodium versions when possible, and portion it into smaller bags so one stress eating session doesn't wipe out the whole supply. *. We've been talking about survival. This next one is about something different: steadiness. There's a reason a bag of nuts disappears so fast when people are tired. Your body recognizes dense food before your brain starts calculating. A large review in PubMed Central found that nut consumption can improve factors: lipid profile and inflammatory markers ***, and specifically notes that nuts can promote and reduce post-meal glucose swings. That's the hidden value here. Nuts are not just calories. They help people feel like they actually ate something. Keep unsalted mixed nuts for flexibility, or make your own trail mix with raisins so you control the cost and the sugar. The next item is cheaper than most people think, and more important to morale than they realize. The food that calms a room is not always the food with the most protein. Sometimes it's the food that goes down easily when people are tired, anxious, or not feeling well. Ready.gov recommends ready-to-eat fruits and comfort-oriented emergency foods. And this is where that advice becomes real. Applesauce cups and fruit pouches require no chewing effort, create almost no mess, and work for kids, older adults, or anyone whose appetite drops under stress. That's why this item belongs here. It lowers resistance. Buy unsweetened versions if you can, and keep a few in the same tote as meds, paper goods, and water so they don't get separated from the rest of your emergency setup. Take a breath here. We're at the halfway point. Everything from here forward carries significantly more weight. And here's one new detail about number 1. Just 2 tablespoons deliver about 200 calories, which is exactly why most families underestimate how much of it they'd actually need. A crisis exposes an ugly truth fast. If food is inconvenient, people start skipping it. Ready.gov explicitly recommends protein or fruit bars because they are portioned, portable, and require nothing from you. No can opener, no dish, no cleanup. That's why they rank above a lot of healthier foods that sound good in theory but create work in practice. Choose bars your family has already eaten before, not aspirational bars that will sit untouched. And keep some in your car, not just your pantry, because emergencies don't always start at home. The next one involves a price gap that's genuinely hard to justify. People will spend extra for specialty snacks and then ignore one of the simplest no-cook morale foods in the store. USDA says high acid. Canned foods like fruits keep their best quality for 12 to 18 months improperly handled canned foods may still remain safe after the date if spoilage isn't evident. In other words, canned fruit buys you time, sweetness, liquid, and normalcy in one package. That's why it ranks here. Go for pull-tab cans when possible, especially peaches, pears, or pineapple packed in juice. And store cans below. This next one is where cheap starts turning into strategic. Beans don't look dramatic on a shelf. In a real food shortage, they start looking almost suspiciously powerful. Harvard Health describes legumes high in protein and fiber, low in fat, and low in glycemic load, and cites clinical evidence linking daily legume intake with improvements in body weight, blood sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure. That is a massive return from one humble food. And because canned beans can be eaten straight from the can, they become one of the cheapest no-cook anchors you can buy. Choose low-sodium or no-salt-added varieties if you can. Rinse them when water is available. And favor pull-tab cans for true no-heat convenience. One thing before we reach the top 3, something most channels covering this topic will never say directly. The best emergency foods are not the foods with the longest fantasy shelf life. They're the foods with the lowest friction under stress. If it needs too much water, too much cleanup, too much chewing, or too much willpower, your stockpile is lying to you. The most overlooked survival food is often the one that turns fragments into meals. Crackers don't win on glamour. They win on function. They give structure to tuna, peanut butter, canned chicken, beans, even dried cheese if you have it. And that matters because people do better psychologically when they can still assemble something that feels like a meal instead of grazing from random containers. That's why this item is so high on the list. Buy sturdy, individually wrapped sleeves if possible, and protect them from crushing by storing them in a plastic bin instead of loose on a pantry shelf. This one and number 1 together form the most efficient, overlooked no-cook combination on the entire list. This is where the list stops being convenient and starts becoming. IOUSA USDA linked nutrition sheet for canned tuna shows about 22 grams of protein in a 3-ounce portion, and USDA's shelf-stable guidance includes retort-packaged and canned proteins among foods that can be stored at room temperature until opened. That makes these proteins incredibly valuable when the grid is fine one day and questionable the next. They earned number 2 because protein is harder to replace than carbs when cooking disappears. Buy pull-tab cans or pouches, rotate aggressively, and keep a fork and napkins in the same bin so the food stays truly ready to eat now, the one I've been building toward, 2 tablespoons. About 200 calories, and that's exactly why it beats foods people assume are more. Serious.ready.gov specifically recommends peanut butter for emergency food supplies. And a USDA food fact sheet puts a standard serving at 2 tablespoons with 200 calories. USDA's Shop Simple guidance also notes that once opened, regular peanut butter can still be kept in the pantry for about 2 months. So here's the real reason it's number 1. It delivers dense calories, usable protein, no prep, no heat, high familiarity, and almost zero waste. Kids will eat it. Adults will eat it. And when decision fatigue hits, that matters more than people admit. That ordinary,